Good Monday to you all out there. How's everyone doing? I hope everyone's having a good day. I don't know why I'm echoing. Loro, why am I echoing?
Oh, was that?
I was echoing. Okay. I'm still echoing. I don't know why.
Just put yourself on mute, and then when I speak, then you just mute yourself when I speak.
Yeah, but I'm. I don't know. It's weird. I can hear myself. But anyway, how's everyone doing? Hope all is well. Hope you guys are having a fantastic Monday. I'm having a great Monday. I have a special guest here with me, my good friend Loro. What's up, Loro? How's everything?
Everything's good, Mathis. How are you? I mean, great. Thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to talk some sports with you. I mean, talk about the trade deadline and also the college football Pac-12 thing and some Laker talk too.
Yes. So here's what's on the docket tonight, as you just alluded to. We're gonna talk about Anthony Davis contract extension, and why I have my ifs, ands, or buts about the contract. We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about the Pac-12 realignment. Pretty soon, the Pac-12 is gonna be non-existent. Pretty soon, we won't have a Pac-12 conference because it's slowly dying. So we'll talk about that. And then we'll get into some baseball. We'll talk about the Tim Anderson and Jose Ramirez brawl. That was the main event on Saturday. We'll talk about that. But first, we're going to get into Anthony Davis. We're going to talk about Anthony Davis's contract, Loro, because Loro, the way I see it, Anthony Davis is, yes, a good player when he's healthy. He's great. He could be one of the most dominant players in the league. We all know that. And we know now that the brawl is not going anywhere anytime soon. The Lakers are stuck with him because they locked him up long term. And after being a part of the 2020 finals team, the Lakers are making sure one of their star players will not leave the team shortly. They want to keep him around for many years to come. He is a cornerstone player. He is somebody you can build around. But Loro, this man is clearly made of glass. He breaks real easily. He is fragile. He's brittle. There's days where he's on the floor and he's not as dominant. He looks passive. He's not as aggressive as he should be. And that is what's concerning to me with AD. Are you investing in a guy who's going to be fully committed, who can play a full 82-game season without going down with an injury? I feel like you gave him this extension, but yet you're going to see a vast majority of games in which he's dressed in street clothes, sidelined due to an injury. It's a 3-year extension that will have the power forward with the team through the 2028 season. I like it, but then I don't like it. Davis has been with the Lakers since 2019. I know the Lakers won a championship after he was acquired in a trade with the Pelicans that saw Josh Hart, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and 3 first-round picks go the other way. So, I mean, Davis is I'm not knocking his talent. He's a damn good player, but only when he's healthy. When he's healthy, he's good. Davis has won a championship and has been named to an all-NBA first team and an all-defensive team. And in 4 seasons with the Lakers, he has averaged 24.6 points per game and 10.1 rebounds per game. So, I mean, he's good when he's on the floor, but health has been an issue for Davis. So that's why I said what I said about the Lakers. Thought carefully before they gave him this contract because he has yet to play a full season and hasn't played more than 60 games since his first season with the team.
Mathis, I definitely agree with your points are. I think that Anthony Davis is made of glass. He scares me when he falls down. What my thinking is, I think Anthony Davis is the cornerstone piece for the Lakers. And I really think that the Lakers felt like that they know they're going to build their team around him, knowing that LeBron James is getting old. And we don't know how long we're going to see LeBron and AD play together on the Lakers. I mean, I liked what the Lakers did this offseason. They got Gabe Vincent to help with their bench. I love that they brought back D'Angelo Russell to start at point guard. And keeping Austin Reeves was huge. And I think Austin Reeves is already a cornerstone piece for the Lakers. But you got to make sure Anthony Davis is healthy in the long run with LeBron James. Anthony Davis does not play a full season. He only plays 60 to 62 games, and then he misses time due to injury. I want to see Anthony Davis play in back-to-back games and not load manage. That's what the Lakers think that they're getting in him, but he really gets hurt a lot. And there was that one season that the Lakers missed the playoffs because of Anthony Davis getting hurt, and Frank Vogel was unfortunately scapegoated. So that's my thoughts there. But all in all, Mathis, besides that extension, I felt like the Lakers made some really nice moves this offseason for them to compete with Denver and compete with Phoenix in the West.
Absolutely. Let's say hi to some of our comments, some of our commenters, some of our viewers here. RC Talks About Basketball is watching. He says, hey, you guys, I am here. He says, looking forward to a great show. Thanks for watching, RC. Really appreciate it. And we also got my man Spotlight in the house as well. He said, what's good, brother? Just another day doing what we do best over here. We're talking sports. I got Loro here with me tonight. And yes, that's the thing with Anthony Davis. And that's what frustrates the hell out of me with Anthony Davis is that because he's too damn fragile. He's too damn brittle. And I once said before that if you're the Lakers, you got to handle him with care. You know, you got to handle him with care. The Lakers need to stuff him in a box and write in big bold letters on the outside of the box, fragile, handle with care. Because every time this dude falls to the floor, I hold my collective breath. And every time he goes down, every time he goes down to the floor, I cringe, you know, because I am prepared for the worst. Because we all know that Anthony Davis, when he goes down a lot of times, he doesn't get back up. And he's usually not okay. And there's times that you got to park an ambulance outside of the damn Crypto.com arena because this guy cannot stay healthy. And like Darren says, and look, RC even says, fragile, handle with care. Yes, absolutely. Laughing out loud. You got that right. And yes, he needs bubble wrap. And as far as I'm concerned, I can't rely on AD. He is an unreliable player, which is why I didn't like this contract in the first place, because you're unreliability. The best ability is availability, and the guy cannot stay on the floor. That's the thing. And I'm prepared for another letdown. I almost think he's gonna get injured at some point in the season because he usually does. He can't stay healthy.
Well, Mathis, to add to that, I think the Lakers need to get one more move before the season starts. I want the Lakers to get a center, like a backup center, so that you can move Jackson Hayes into the starting lineup. I don't want to see Anthony Davis play the 5 again, because when he plays the 5, he gets hurt. Yes,
RC, you got that right. You know what it is? He's like a piece of china that just shatters all over the place. And yet sweep up the tiny little pieces of glass on the hardwood floor. Anthony Davis is a good player. He should be a lot better than what he is. But there are question marks. And I'm with Darren here. He's right. Spotlight is right. Spotlight is on point with this comment right here. You should have let him play out this contract he currently have. Yes, but the Lakers were desperate to lock him up because the Lakers want him to stay around. LeBron is at the latter stages of his career. LeBron's going to be out of the door very soon, and you're going to have to pass the torch to this guy. Is this the guy you want to pass the torch to? Is this the guy that you want to put a lot of faith in, that he can carry your team deep into the playoffs? Because one bad fall, that's it. Anthony Davis' season is most likely over. That was my issue with this contract. That's where I stood with this contract. That was my position on this whole entire thing. When he signed the contract, I was like, are the Lakers moving too fast? Are the Lakers that willing to invest in a guy who hasn't been able to stay healthy? You look at his history. Look at his medical history. Look at his medical reports. And all the injuries that he has suffered in recent years are lower body injuries. I don't know what it is. I don't know if his bones are weak, or I don't know if he doesn't have the right physical trainer working with him. I don't know. But it's always that moment where he is unhealthy, where he is making a fashion statement, standing on the sideline, dressed in his Gucci sweaters with his fresh J's, and that's what you see. And the Lakers are paying him more money now to look fly in that fresh Gucci sweater and nice kicks on his feet. Anthony Davis is going to have to stay healthy. LeBron can't pull the weight by himself. LeBron needs Anthony Davis as much as Anthony Davis needs LeBron. Loro, I'm going to give you the floor before we move to our next topic.
Well, I mean, there's a comment right there. RC said that Jackson Hayes is not given to succeed either. And I'm like, he can start, but would I want him to start? But what if we get someone better to complement Anthony Davis in the front court? Get a 7-foot center like a Christian Wood, who I think the Lakers should get. Christian Wood could go to the Lakers via sign and trade, which I could see happening, Mathis. I mean, do you think Jackson Hayes should start at center to move Anthony Davis to the 4, or do you think the Lakers should make another deal to bring Christian Wood to LA?
I think the Lakers should make another deal and consider bringing Christian Wood to LA. The more size you have, the bigger advantage you have to win basketball games. And the Lakers have succeeded with big men. Look at their history. They usually win championships with dominant centers, guys who can protect the paint, guys who can deliver and get it done inside the paint, that can get it done down low, that can score points down low. You know, the Lakers usually build around big men. And yes, I'm with you. Do you move Anthony Davis to the 4? Let Jackson Hayes play center? Why not? I mean, why not experiment early in the season and see what you have in Jackson Hayes and what he can do for you if he can produce at playing the 5. You know, I actually like that idea. I think that's a great idea, actually. RC says here, correct me if I'm wrong, AD is a lot like Kawhi. He doesn't play a lot of back-to-back eaters. Yeah, that's another thing. I'm glad you mentioned that. He doesn't play a lot of back-to-back games. And that was an issue last season. He would look fatigued. He would look out of sync. Didn't look like himself. There was nights that he looked lackadaisical. That he didn't play top level basketball. Inconsistencies was a concern. Not being ready for the game that night. Things like that. So this is what the Lakers did. They locked him up. They obviously are satisfied with Anthony Davis. I think most Laker fans like Anthony Davis. The thing with him is just not being able to stay healthy. But now we'll move on to our next topic. And our next topic is a very good one. Loro, we're going to talk about the Pac-12 because pretty soon there won't be any Pac-12 left. The Pac-12, as we know it, died when 5 schools committed to leaving the conference in 2024. This is unreal. It is hard to fathom that the Pac-12 conference is no longer going to exist. I can't believe we have come to the day where we're sitting here saying the Pac-12 will no longer be a conference. That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. And like Spotlight said, the Pac-12 is done. And he's absolutely right. The Pac-12 conference is done. Where does the Pac-12 go from here? I don't know if they will add any schools. They want to add schools, but look, UCLA, USC, Colorado, Arizona State, Utah, Oregon, and Washington are gone. There are still 4 schools remaining in the Pac-12. The Northern California rivals, Cal and Stanford, and I even heard today that they could be on the move, that they can be going to the ACC. It's crazy. So then that will leave you with 2 Pac-12 teams if Cal and Stanford departs as well. Then you'll only have Oregon State and Washington State. What it is, Loro, is that this is what it is. The Pac-12 has failed spectacularly over the last decade. Look, the conference has gone from one of the best and most respected conferences, and now it has become one of the most irrelevant conferences in college football. There is a lack of fan interest, especially in the football the football spectrum, if that's what you want to say. Look, this conference is in shambles, and the reason it's what it is because it's all about money, my friend. It is all about money. All of this is about money. Nothing else to it. It's about the bag. Everybody's chasing money. So every school wants to move to a conference where they know they can get recognition, where they know they can be broadcast on TV more. They'll get more televised games because of the TV deals that the Big Ten has with ESPN and Fox, and as well as these other conferences that have these big TV deals. It's all about the money. It's all about the money, which is why we're seeing all these realignments. And the final nail in the coffin of the modern Pac-12 conference came already. It's not going to be the same. This sums up the state of college sports right now. And you can say this will be one of the lasting images of the end of the Pac-12. Every school in the Pac-12 has a chance to grab more money and security. So in order to do that, they're looking to move on and leave the Pac-12 conference for a more convincing conference, a conference like the Big Ten, a conference that people know about, a conference that is heavily regarded around college football, a more respected conference. But my question is this: logistics. Now USC is going to have to play on the East Coast. UCLA is going to have to play teams on the East Coast. They're going to have to play in colder climates. They're going to have to play in snow. They're going to have to play in treacherous weather conditions. It won't be easy. But when you are willing to sacrifice everything at the altar of money, you no longer really control where things go. And you might end up somewhere that you didn't think you would. And the big brands are willing to leave the Pac-12 conference to go to a conference like the Big Ten, where they know their players can get more exposure, where they know they have a chance to finally contend for a playoff spot in the college football playoffs. There's a number of reasons why this realignment is happening. It's simple. It's money. That's the reason why this realignment is happening. And teams are now all over the place. And it's just utter chaos. And college sports is, at the end of the day, it is a business. It is a business. At the end of the day, that's all it is. It's a business.
It is a business, but I've always been a fan of UCLA football. I also like USC, but I'm more of a UCLA type of guy when it comes to local college teams here. But I'm more of an SEC guy because I think the SEC is respectable. And, I mean, there's teams that are coming to the SEC now, like Texas and Oklahoma, which I think is good. I'm a Bama guy in college football because I think this is good for the competition, good for the game of college football. I think I've always been a fan of the SEC because the SEC is a football conference. It's one of those conferences that is very respectable. I mean, they always have good viewership, like the Big Ten. I mean, I cannot wait to see the Big Ten on CBS this year. That's like my favorite. I'm glad that UCLA and USC are going to the Big Ten because I just think the Pac-12 has just died. I'm like, who's dominated that conference in the past decade? It's between USC, Utah, Oregon. But I really think that this was the right move. But I want to see next Oregon State and Washington State join the Big Ten.
And a lot of it's East Coast bias too. A lot of it's East Coast bias because a lot of people on the East Coast who live in the southern states, they don't pay attention to the Pac-12 conference. They don't care about the Pac-12 conference. They care about the SEC and the Big Ten conference because those are the bigger Power 5 conferences. Those are the conferences that more people are drawn to. Those two conferences are the most attractive conferences in football. So when two conferences are drawing as much interest as those conferences, you best believe that there's going to be some schools that want to move to those conferences because of revenue, because of TV deals, because of the East Coast bias, or whatever it may be. And that's where we're at. That's where we're at now in college football. That's where we're at. And Spotlight says Washington stated they left because of stability. So that's a big issue for the Pac-12. Stability is another issue as well. There's a number of disadvantages and advantages by making these moves. One of the advantages is relocation and more money. One of the disadvantages is weather conditions. A lot of these kids from California are not used to those type of conditions. They're not used to playing in snow or in blizzards. They're not used to that. They're not used to the cold climate. There's a lot of these young kids who's never been in temperatures below 50 degrees. So that's going to be a tough adjustment for a lot of players. And that's something that they're going to have to adapt to amid this change. So, I mean, it won't be easy. So, again, there's pros and cons to it. But will this allow teams like USC and UCLA to recruit some of the nation's best? Moving from a Pac-12 conference to a Big Ten conference, would this allow them to recruit some of the nation's best talent? Would this give them a chance to fight for a playoff spot? What if they have a one loss? In the Pac-12, if you have a one loss, you most likely not getting a playoff spot. Not over an SEC school or not over a Big Ten school. That's not happening. But now that you're in the Big Ten conference, does this give you more of an advantage to secure that playoff spot? So there's a lot of pros and cons to it. And yes, RC says the travel will be insanity. I agree. Absolutely. Logistics. No doubt about it. And NBA with Mo is watching. Yes, 100% spot on. Yes. I'm just breaking it all down here. Because it's not an easy adjustment for a lot of these players in a lot of these schools. But these schools are doing it because they know they have a chance to get a bang for their buck and to return to relevance, get back to what they were doing. But it's too bad to see the Pac-12 crumble like this, to see the Pac-12 fall apart. I remember when the Pac-12 was the Pac-10. I remember when it only had 10 schools in it. And you go back to the 90s, it was one of the best conferences in college sports. That's all changed over the years. RC says, I hope they do increase the NCAA tournament to 96 teams. I think that's too much. I think you keep it as is. That would be so watered down. I grew up with the Pac-12 popping. Sad to see it ending in a way. It is sad to see it come to an end. It is really sad to see it come to an end. But again, this is where we're at in college football. And pretty soon, I wouldn't be surprised if there's only 2 conferences left in college football. I mean, that's where we're heading. That's where we're heading. Pretty soon, it's going to be 2 large conferences with a lot of football teams. That's what it's starting to look like in college football. It's not what it used to be. It has changed. It has changed significantly. You got Mountain West schools committed to their current media deals. You could see Mountain West schools possibly making a move to the Pac-12. But again, you got them committed to our current media deals, and they would have to pay. Those schools would have to pay $34 million in exit fees to leave the conference in time for 2024. So, what do you do if you're the Pac-12 conference, Loro? What do you do in this situation? How could you add schools and operate under your current conference name and media deals?
Well, I mean, what you have to do is you got to find a way to join a conference that can have the population and revenue and all that. This, I think, to me, the Pac-12 is dead. I agree with you on that. I thought it used to be very respectable, but nowadays I've not been a fan of the Pac-12 as of late. I've just like UCLA and USC. athletics, but I prefer UCLA over USC. Not to hurt your feelings about that. That's why I like the SEC and the Big Ten.
Yeah. And I mean, the Big Ten conference, man, is about to be really popping, but it's always been one of the most respected conferences in college sports. The Big Ten has always ranked up there high on the list. You know, and now the Big Ten is about to get even better because we're seeing more teams go into that conference.
Absolutely. So, time for baseball here.
Yes, time to segue over to baseball. Let's get into it. We got to talk about the Tim Anderson situation now. I know you saw the video. I know you might have saw the video on my page. I posted it up. The video went viral everywhere. Everyone was going nuts on social media about Tim Anderson getting put to sleep because basically, when you look at the video, Jose Ramirez put dude to sleep. I mean, that was the main event on Saturday night. That was a brawl. That was one of the most comical and entertaining brawls that I've seen in a while because those two actually exchanged blows. Like it was an actual fight. You know, it's not like those brawls that we usually see, the customary ones where, you know, there's pushing and shoving and there's guys exchanging words and there's players being separated or tackled to the ground. It wasn't a brawl like that. There was actual punches thrown in this brawl between two players, Jose Ramirez and, of course, Tim Anderson. Now, Tim Anderson got dropped. My dude got dropped. And where he made a fatal mistake was squaring up soft paw. You don't do that, bro. You don't do that. You're going to get knocked out. And then he leads with his right hand. And that's where he got knocked out. Ramirez was able to connect. And Ramirez, man, put him on the ground. Put my dude on the ground. It's obvious that it's been a very, very frustrating season for the White Sox, and it has gotten worse. And I mean, that right there summed up the type of year it has been for the Chicago White Sox, because it's obvious that there's that this team is not getting along. There's players that's bumping heads. The chemistry is not there. It hasn't taken shape. There's a lot that has gone wrong for the Chicago White Sox. And one of the problems is Tim Anderson himself. I think he's very toxic, and I think Chicago, particularly the soft side of Chicago, has become a very toxic environment.
I agree 100%. I mean, I like Tim Anderson. I like this White Sox team. They have the talent to be really good and compete in the division with the Twins and the Guardians. But this year, it's just gone south for the White Sox. Like, they traded Jake Burger because they knew that they weren't going to keep him around. I also think trading Giolito had to happen. They knew they're going to build their rotation around Dylan Cease. I knew they weren't going to trade Dylan Cease or Tim Anderson or Eloy Jimenez or Luis Robert. Those are guys that they want to build around for their next winning team. But this year, it's been a disappointment in the south side of Chicago. I questioned the hire of Pedro Grifol as their next manager. And do I think he's done a great job in the south side? No. Players don't really listen to him. The players just don't want to play for Pedro Grifol. I mean, Grifol has just been an utter mess in Chicago. And that fight, like you said, I agree with. It summed up the White Sox season, and Tim Anderson and Jose Ramirez were in it. But I think Jose Ramirez should have gotten the same type of suspension as Jose Ramirez. But this tells me that the White Sox season is gone south, and I think they need to change their direction and potentially move on from Pedro Grifol.
You know what? I thought it was funny that back to the altercation that happened in that game. I thought it was pretty funny. Not what only transpired, but I thought it was funny in the aftermath that Jose Ramirez agent poked fun at this. I don't know if you saw it, but most people did. He posted a picture on his personal Instagram showing Jose Ramirez with boxing gloves on, standing on Progressive Field. I thought that was hilarious. But, it's usually the quiet ones like Jose Ramirez, because Jose Ramirez is a fun-loving guy. He's an outgoing person. He's very likable around the league. Other players always have great things to say about the man and how great of a person he is and how underrated of a player he is as well. And to see him get, pushed to the edge like he did and respond the way he did, it was out of character. That's not something you usually see from Jose Ramirez. So whatever Tim Anderson did to initiate the whole thing, it was awfully bad because Ramirez responded in a way that he usually doesn't. This is a guy who usually keeps his cool, right? But, man, Ramirez punched dude out, dropped him, put him to sleep. And my lesson for today is to watch out for the quiet ones, because the quiet ones are the people that we underestimate the most. And every time we underestimate the people who look innocent and quiet, those are the people who can actually put hands on you and knock you out.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think that I was glad the Dodgers didn't even get Tim Anderson at the deadline. I felt like we were good at shortstop.
Yeah.
And happy that we got guys like Ahmed Rosario, Kike coming back. I love that. And then getting Lance Lynn to eat up innings for the rotation. I felt like that the rotation's down is much better this month than it was last month, which we'll get to right now with the Dodgers.
Right. Well, before we get to the Dodgers, did you hear about former Dodger Yasmani Grandal slapping Tim Anderson in the face in the clubhouse? There was a clubhouse altercation that apparently happened just before the All-Star break.
Man, this is a bad environment if you're the White Sox. Their clubhouse is not good. They don't have a clubhouse leader. I mean, I would say Luis Robert should step up and be a clubhouse leader.
Well, that's the guy that they obviously want to build around, because the White Sox did say they were willing to trade any and everybody but Luis Robert.
But and then we got to talk about the Angels right now, because the Angels right now are down 1-0 to the Giants. I knew that the Angels weren't going to trade Ohtani at the deadline. There was a lot of speculation by it. I quieted the Angels trading Ohtani because I didn't think the Angels didn't want to get a big haul. But there's been a lot of mixed views and mixed criticism on the Angels by not trading Ohtani. Like, people said, why didn't the Angels trade Ohtani knowing that the Angels are going to tank in the second half? And I'm like, look, they're not going to do that. Marty Moreno is going to continue being the dumb man he is as an owner.
And you kept saying that the Angels wouldn't trade Shohei Ohtani, and I was the one that was disagreeing with you, because I had this sense that the Angels would find a trade partner and decide to shop Ohtani at the trade deadline. Didn't come to fruition. He is still an Angel. I think he'll finish he's obviously now going to finish the season with the Angels. But here's a question to you, and I know we're Dodger fans, and I know our hope is that he does sign with the Dodgers this offseason. If he doesn't sign with the Dodgers, where does he land this winter?
I'm gonna say the Seattle Mariners. I don't want to see him with the Giants, even though the Giants have this boatload of money that they can spend on a superstar player. But knowing Farhan Zaidi, Farhan Zaidi doesn't like to spend. He likes the cheap deals. He likes to retain a great farm system, and I think I would hate to see Shohei in a Giants uniform just because the Giants have a lot of money to spend this offseason like the Dodgers do. But I ultimately think Shohei Ohtani is going to be in Dodger blue because I think that he's going to fit all the boxes that we need. A starting pitcher and a guy that's going to hit cleanup in the lineup behind Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and Will Smith. And I want to see Ohtani wear number 17 with the Dodgers next year. And I think the Dodgers are gearing up for that. And I think the Angels are setting themselves up for bankruptcy.
There are going to be a multitude of teams involved in the Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes this winter. No question about it. And I think wherever he lands, he stays on the West Coast. I think he likes the weather on the West Coast. I think he wants to stay on the West Coast. I think he wants to stay in a city where there's a large population of Japanese descent. I know Seattle has a great Japanese following. So does Southern California here on the West Coast as well. So I think wherever he ends up, he stays on the West Coast. I don't think money is too much of a factor for him. I think winning is more on his priority list. I think that's on top of his priority list is winning. I think he wants to win. I think he wants to go to a team where he knows he will be in contention, where he can finally get to the playoffs for once. Yes, for once in his life, he could finally get to the playoffs. And I think all baseball fans deserve to see that, right? I think we want to see him in the playoffs because he is otherworldly. He is a unique talent. He is in a league of his own. He's in a class of his own. He is different from all the rest. So I think as fans, we want to see Shohei Ohtani in the playoffs. We want that showtime in the playoffs. We want that box office player to put on a show in the playoffs. We already seen what he can do in the regular season, but we would like to see this guy on the bigger stage and what he can offer being on the bigger stage. And the only way we get to see that is if he leaves the Angels and sign with a team that's already in contention and a team that has enough talent around him that they can make a deep run into October.
And that's why I see it being the Dodgers, because I think that I've said it all along. I think to me, I think in my Ohtani sweepstakes standings, I have the Dodgers number 1, I have the Giants number 2, and I have Seattle number 3, and then number 4, the Padres, and then number 5, this is a long shot, the Mets, because he knows Billy Epler there. The Yankees to me are a long shot for him for them to make a run at Ohtani. But ultimately, I think he's going to be a Dodger. He's going to join Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and Will Smith in that potent Dodgers lineup. And I want to see him be teammates with the legend Clayton Kershaw and share the same rotation with Kershaw and a healthy Walker Buehler and Lance Lynn and Bobby Miller.
Yeah, it's obvious that the Dodgers are going to be aggressive in trying to sign him in the offseason because they didn't do a lot of spending last winter and they didn't make a lot of moves. They made some moves, but they didn't make like splashy moves at the trade deadline. They were more or less quiet, I would say, because they're trying to aggressively go after Shohei Ohtani, and I think that's what they're aiming for is a guy like Shohei Ohtani, the best two-way player in baseball. I mean, who wouldn't want him?
To make another point here, Mathis, that the reason why the reason why I think the Dodgers are going to get Shohei Ohtani is because now that Trevor Bauer's expensively bad contract's going to come off the books this winter, I think the Dodgers are pretty much the heavy favorites for Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, the way they like to spend money, too, on big-name players, of course, they're going to be top on the list to land a guy like Shohei Ohtani. Absolutely.
That's why I think the Dodgers are going to get Ohtani next year. And not only that, I think the Dodgers need to address their second base position. I do think Max Muncy's going to stay another year. And I also want to see the Dodgers address their closer need. Because I want the Dodgers to get an everyday closer this upcoming offseason, because I feel like our closer by committee situation with Phillips and Graterol, it hasn't really panned out the way I expected it to be. I want Graterol to be our closer, but I kind of want an everyday closer. Like, I want a hitter that's going to come in the ninth, get the last 3 outs and all that. Although I like Phillips and Graterol, don't get me wrong on them. But I just want another guy. I just want another back end reliever this winter.
Yeah, I agree. I think they need to focus more on a back end reliever. They should have got Jordan Hicks. I thought the Cardinals would have been a great trade partner for the Dodgers. I was hoping they would acquire a guy like Jordan Hicks. He could come out of the bullpen in high leverage situations and get outs for you. He's a flamethrower. The guy throws hard. He throws good stuff. And then, of course, I was looking at Jordan Montgomery and Jack Flaherty, but instead the Dodgers reacquired Joe Kelly. Joe Kelly's back, who looked really good tonight. If you saw him this afternoon against the Padres, he retired the side in the 7th inning. So he's looked good since he's come back to LA. And then you got Lance Lynn, another starter to go into that rotation. But yeah, the Dodgers, to me though, after the trade deadline, they got more athletic. You got Kike Hernandez back. You got Ahmed Rosario.
Talking about Ahmed Rosario. I mean, Ahmed Rosario has been hitting the crap out of the ball since coming here.
Oh man,
I felt like trading Noah Syndergaard had to happen. Although I was hoping it would work out for him here in LA, because I was wanting to see him try to rejuvenate himself again, and I thought Mark Prior and Dave Roberts tried their best to fix him and make him their next reclamation project, but he obviously didn't pan out. I think Lance Lynn's a better reclamation project for the Dodgers.
Yeah, absolutely. Now the question that everybody had about him was his defense, because he is not the greatest defensive shortstop or defensive infielder, but he's done a great job offensively hitting the ball. So, it's worked out for the Dodgers.
I mean, it has. I mean, I think the Dodgers should keep Kike next year and Rosario to kind of help with our bench, just because I really think they've done a great job. But another guy that I haven't really given up on that?
It gives you flexibility.
It does. But another guy that I want to tell you that I really haven't called him a bust yet is Miguel Vargas. I still have a lot of confidence in him. He's balling out in AAA after we sent him back down to kind of clear his head. But I ultimately think Miguel Vargas is going to be our starting second baseman next year, and I think that he is going to be a guy that I think is going to bring power to that lineup and contact once he kind of makes the adjustments that he needs. And I cannot wait for when Gavin Lux assumes his starting shortstop role.
Yeah, Gavin Lux, it was a huge loss this season. You'll get him back next year. You got guys coming back. The Dodgers will be fine. I think the Dodgers will be competitive for a long time, especially if you get Shohei Ohtani. You still got Freddie Freeman locked up. You got Mookie Betts for years to come. The Dodgers will be fine, and they will definitely be in play.
I was going to ask you, like,
I like their form.
Did you agree with my statement with like Miguel Vargas when we sent him down? I didn't even give up on him completely.
Vargas has potential.
He does, but he just couldn't quite adjust. The reason why he was in this big slump. But I'm confident that next year he's going to assume the starting second baseman role.
Yeah, we'll see. He has the potential to be great. He's not polished yet. But he will continue to get better as time goes. And I think the Dodgers know what they have in him. And I think he'll do just well for the Dodgers.
Another guy we got to talk about, Austin Barnes, he has not had the season we expected. I mean, a lot of people are giving him slack, which I feel bad for. I'm like, look, Austin Barnes, you can't blame him for the offensive struggles. He is great for the pitchers, but I know that his offense is not really – he doesn't amaze us every night or every day with his bat. I think Austin Barnes is just good for – he's a great backup catcher, but I just think this year his offense is just not that good.
He's a solid backup catcher, but yes, his offense hasn't been up to par. He struggled. He has struggled behind the plate. But I've never been one who's been so high on Austin Barnes because Austin Barnes to me wasn't always a consistent hitter. So I don't know why all of people are being hard on Austin Barnes when they already know that he's more known for what he can do behind the plate.
And he's more of a guy. He's more of a guy that just loves being behind the plate for Clayton Kershaw over Will Smith, because I know Will Smith catches Buehler. He catches – I know Will Smith's going to catch Ohtani, and he's going to catch Urias. But Barnes, he will be in the lineup when Clayton Kershaw starts. But do I expect Austin Barnes to be in the lineup every time Kershaw starts? To me, not necessarily. Because I think Will Smith needs reps to catch Kershaw.
Yeah. Loro, do you have any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I mean, this was a great show. Thanks for having me on, though.
Tell the people where they can find you and what you're doing and what you're up to nowadays.
You can find us on the IM6 network. You can find me on Twitter at Loro Nation. Or Loro the homie, and then you could find me on Instagram on Loro a sports guy, and also look at some other articles I do outside of pro sports, which is Valley Sports Telegram, and we'll go from there.
All right, good stuff, man. I appreciate you coming on tonight. Thanks for taking the time out of your night to join me. And I want to thank all our viewers out there as well, because without them, none of this is possible. So thank you guys for watching this show and chiming in all your questions, comments. We really appreciate it. Thanks again, everyone. Good night. See you guys very, 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 very soon. I'll be back tomorrow with the show. I'll be joined by my good friend Shaw from the Big Shaw Show. We'll join me tomorrow night. So you guys don't want to miss that. Make sure you guys tune in. And Loro, thank you again, man. Good night, my friend. I want to say good night to everybody. Everyone have an awesome night, and talk to you guys very, very, very soon. Peace.